Know thyself. Socrates spoke these words in ancient Athens, challenging citizens to examine their assumptions, their values, their very existence. It made him so uncomfortable to be around that the city sentenced him to death for corrupting youth with his constant questioning. Why am I like this? 24 centuries later, millions of people gather online to ask themselves this exact question about their procrastination, about their need for validation, about their inability to stop scrolling, stop refreshing, stop seeking approval from strangers. 2,400 years separated these questions, but perhaps they were always the same question, just asked in different languages, on different platforms, by people facing different but fundamentally similar struggles with self-knowledge and self-control. Socrates appears in front of a modern computer screen, his traditional robes looking absurd against the glow of the monitor. The Reddit interface displays before him, dark mode active, showing the philosophy subreddit filled with existential questions and self-aware complaints. He leans forward, reading, his weathered face illuminated by blue light. A new post appears at the top of the feed. The title reads, "I am Socrates, ancient Greek philosopher. Ask me anything about why you are all like this." The username shows as the real Socrates. Posted 3 minutes ago. Already 47,000 upvotes. 12,000 comments flooding in. The questions arrive faster than any single person could read them. But Socrates reads patiently, scrolling slowly, his expression shifting from curiosity to understanding to something that might be sadness or might be recognition. Why do I procrastinate even when I know it will hurt me later? Someone asks, why do I overshare my life to strangers online? Another types, why can't I put my phone down even when I want to? Why do I feel empty after scrolling for hours? Why do I need validation from people I've never met? Socrates strokes his beard, considering. Then he begins typing his first response. Not an answer. A question. His fingers move slowly across the keyboard. Unfamiliar with the technology, but not with the method. Let me ask you something first. When you say you procrastinate, do you mean you cannot act, or that you choose not to act? The response comes within seconds. Dozens of people jumping to answer. It feels like I can't, but I guess technically I choose? But it doesn't feel like a choice. Socrates types again. If it does not feel like a choice, then something else is choosing for you. What is that something? The thread explodes with responses. Fear, anxiety, perfectionism, the overwhelming feeling that if I start, I have to finish perfectly. So why start at all? The comfort of distraction, the dopamine hit from notifications, the algorithm feeding me exactly what keeps me frozen. He reads each response carefully, then types a longer reply. In my time, we called this acrasia, acting against your better judgment. But you describe something more complex. You are not simply choosing immediate pleasure over long-term benefit. You are trapped in systems designed to trap you. Your distraction is not weakness. It is by design. Someone responds immediately. So it's not my fault? Socrates pauses before answering. I did not say that. The trap is real. But you can see the trap. That is the first step to escaping it. Most people in Athens never questioned why they believed what they believed. You at least are asking why you do what you do. That matters. Another question rises to the top of the thread, heavily upvoted. Why do I tell strangers on the internet things I wouldn't tell my closest friends? Socrates considers this, his expression thoughtful. He types slowly. In Athens, we had the agora, the public square. People would gather to debate, to share ideas, to be seen and heard. But there were limits. You faced the people you spoke to. You saw their reactions. You lived with the consequences of your words. Tell me, when you share these intimate details online, what are you seeking? The responses vary. connection, understanding, someone to tell me I'm not alone, validation that my experience matters. Sometimes just to feel like someone is listening, to know I exist in someone else's awareness, even for a moment. He reads these answers with something approaching compassion. You seek what all humans seek, to be known, to be understood, to matter, but you seek it in a marketplace designed not to fulfill that need, but to exploit it. Each confession you make is measured not in human connection, but in metrics, likes, upvotes, comments. You do not share to be known. You share to be quantified. But doesn't that mean I am known? Someone asks. If people respond, if they engage, doesn't that mean they see me? Socrates leans back in his chair, considering his response carefully. He types, I knew a man in Athens who spent every day in the agora, speaking to anyone who would listen. He shared every thought, every feeling, every detail of his life. Everyone knew about him, but no one knew him. Do you understand the difference? The thread goes quiet for a moment. Then responses begin appearing, slowly at first, then building. That hit hard. I have thousands of followers, but feel completely alone. I share everything, but hide myself. People know my life, but not myself. Socrates nods to himself, reading these replies. He types again. The unexamined life is not worth living. I said this once, but now I wonder if the over-examined life, performed for an audience, recorded for posterity, quantified and measured and optimized, is also not worth living. Perhaps the life worth living is the one examined for yourself, not for others. A new, highly voted question appears. Are we even free anymore? The algorithm knows what I want before I want it. It shows me content that keeps me engaged. It shapes my thoughts. How can I have free will if my choices are being guided? This question makes Socrates pause longer than the others. He stares at the screen, then begins typing a longer response. In Athens, I questioned whether any human truly had free will, or if we were all following predetermined paths. Some said the gods decided everything. Others said fate was inescapable. I argued that knowledge was the path to freedom, that by understanding yourself, you could choose your own way. But your question is more complex. You are not asking if fate or gods control you. You are asking if mathematics does. He continues typing. The algorithm is not conscious. It does not want you to behave in certain ways. It simply measures what keeps you engaged and provides more of it, like water flowing downhill, following the path of least resistance. You are not controlled by the algorithm. You are flowing with it. The question is, can you flow against it? Responses flood in. That's just choosing between algorithmic paths. Even resisting the algorithm is predicted and monetized. There's no escape. We're not free. We're just optimized. Socrates reads these responses with concern deepening on his face. He types carefully. Then you have a choice more important than any Athenian faced. They could be enslaved by other men, but their thoughts remain their own. You face a slavery more subtle. Your thoughts themselves are being shaped, not by force, but by architecture, by design, by systems so complex you cannot see where they end and you begin. If you do nothing, these systems will think for you. The question is not whether you are free. The question is whether you will fight for freedom. Someone asks how? How do I fight against something designed by the smartest people in the world to be impossible to resist? Socrates allows himself a slight smile as he types. By doing what they fear most. Think, question, examine. The algorithm can predict what you will click. It cannot force you to question why you clicked. It can show you content that makes you angry or afraid or validated. It cannot make you examine why you feel those things. It can trap your attention, It cannot trap your awareness of being trapped. That awareness is your freedom. Small, perhaps, but real. The thread continues growing. People sharing their struggles with digital life. Their awareness of being manipulated, but their inability to stop. Their desire for connection that never quite manifests. Their exhaustion from performing their lives for audiences. Their knowledge that they are wasting time, but their continued inability to stop wasting it. Socrates reads it all. He reads about people who check their phones hundreds of times a day, about those who feel anxious without notifications, about the constant comparison to others' curated lives, about the fear of missing out that keeps them perpetually online, about the depression that comes from reducing human interaction to metrics and measurements. He types a response that takes several minutes to compose. I was considered wise in Athens not because I knew more than others, but because I knew what I did not know. I questioned everything, including my own assumptions. This made me unpopular. People do not enjoy having their certainties challenged. They prefer comfortable lies to uncomfortable truths. But I believe then, and believe now, that only through constant examination can we approach anything resembling wisdom or virtue. You exist in a world I could not have imagined, a world where all human knowledge is accessible instantly, where you can connect with anyone, anywhere, where you can share your thoughts with millions. And yet you are asking the same questions Athenians asked. Why do I act against my own interests? Why do I seek approval? Why do I feel disconnected despite being more connected than ever? The technology is new. The human struggle is ancient. Someone responds, so what do we do? Just accept that we're stuck like this? That every generation asks these questions and nothing changes? Socrates types his reply quickly. No, you do what humans have always done when facing challenges to their freedom and virtue. You become conscious. You examine. You question, not just the systems around you, but yourself. Why do you check your phone? Not because you are weak, because something in you seeks something. What is it seeking? Connection? Validation? Escape? Comfort? Entertainment? Once you understand what you are truly seeking, you can ask whether this is the best way to seek it. And if it is not, you can choose differently. But choosing is hard, someone writes. The pull is so strong. I know I should stop scrolling, but I cannot. Socrates responds, because you think of it as one choice. Stop or continue, but it is many small choices. Each moment is a new choice. You do not need the strength to stop forever. You need the strength to stop for one moment, then another moment, then another. The Spartans became the greatest warriors not through one act of incredible courage, but through countless small acts of discipline. Your battle is the same, not one grand gesture of freedom, but many small exercises of will. The conversation continues for what seems like hours. Socrates answering some questions, questioning the assumptions behind others, occasionally simply acknowledging the difficulty of the struggles people describe. He does not offer easy solutions. He offers harder questions. He does not provide comfort. He provides clarity. A question emerges that receives thousands of upvotes. You died for your beliefs, for refusing to stop questioning. Would you do it again, knowing what would happen? Socrates stops typing. He stares at this question for a long time. Then he begins his response. I died because I refused to stop asking questions that made people uncomfortable. I could have stopped. I could have accepted exile. I could have remained silent. But I believe that a life without examination, without questioning, without seeking truth even when truth is uncomfortable, was not worth living. I still believe that. You live in an age where you have more information than any Athenian could dream of. But information is not wisdom. You have more connection than any ancient society. But connection is not understanding. You have more freedom than most humans in history. But freedom unused is the same as no freedom at all. So yes, I would choose the same path. Not because it was easy or safe, or led to a happy ending, but because it was true. The responses to this are quieter, more thoughtful. People admitting they spend more time seeking comfort than truth. That they know they are distracting themselves, but distraction feels safer than confrontation. That examining their lives feels harder than escaping them. Socrates types one final long response. I understand this. I do. The Athenians I questioned also preferred their comfortable assumptions to uncomfortable truths. They also found it easier to attack the questioner than to examine their own beliefs. But here is what I learned, and what killed me, and what I still believe. The unexamined life is not worth living, not because examination makes life comfortable. It does not, but because without examination, you are not really living. You are simply existing, reacting, following, flowing where the current takes you. And now, in your time, the current has become very strong. The pull toward distraction, toward performance, toward quantification, toward the path of least resistance is stronger than any current in history, which makes examination more important, not less, more necessary, not less, more urgent, not less. He pauses, then adds one more thought. You asked why you are all like this. The answer is, you are human. Humans seek pleasure and avoid pain. Humans desire connection and fear rejection. Humans want to be seen and understood and valued. This has not changed since Athens. What has changed is that there are now systems designed to exploit these desires, to turn them into profit, to capture your attention and your data and your time. These systems are not evil. They are simply very good at what they do. And what they do is give you exactly what you think you want, in a way that keeps you wanting more. The question is not why you are like this. The question is, now that you know why you are like this, what will you do about it? The thread continues growing even after Socrates stops responding. People sharing their own insights, their own struggles, their own attempts to examine their digital lives. Some angry, some defensive, some grateful, some confused, some inspired, all engaging with ideas that are thousands of years old, but feel suddenly urgent and new. Socrates closes the laptop. He sits in silence for a moment, his ancient face illuminated now only by ambient light. The modern technology gone, leaving just an old man who asked questions and died for it. Now confronted with a world where everyone asks questions but struggles to act on the answers. He stands, his robes falling around him, an anachronism in every sense. But the questions he asked, the method he used, the examination he demanded, these are not anachronisms. They are timeless, necessary, perhaps more necessary now than ever, when the unexamined life is not just possible but optimized, algorithmically encouraged, and infinitely easier than the alternative. The screen goes dark, but somewhere, the thread continues, people continuing to ask why they are like this, continuing to examine, to question, to struggle with self-knowledge and self-control in an age designed to make both as difficult as possible. Socrates would have found this both tragic and hopeful. Tragic because the struggle never ends. Hopeful because people keep struggling, keep asking, keep examining, even when it is uncomfortable. Even when it changes nothing, even when the algorithms push back, when the design fights them, when the easiest path leads away from examination rather than toward it. The examined life, he believed, was the only life worth living. The people in that thread, asking uncomfortable questions about their own behavior, seeking truth rather than comfort, examining rather than accepting, they were living examined lives, even if only for a moment. Even if only in a Reddit thread, even if the next moment brought them back to scrolling, to seeking validation, to flowing with the algorithmic current. But for one moment, they chose to examine, to question, to know themselves. And Socrates, who died believing this was the highest human calling, would have recognized them as his spiritual descendants. Not because they found answers, but because they were brave enough to ask the questions. The thread remains. The questions persist. And somewhere, in the space between clicking and thinking, between reacting and reflecting, between flowing with the current and swimming against it, the spirit of Socratic examination survives. Small, struggling, but present, still asking, after 24 centuries, the same essential question in different words. Know thyself. Why are we like this? And what, now that we know, will we do about it?